And welcome, everybody. Here in the Fandom Zone, it is the most earth-breaking, ground-shaking, but never media show money-taking. The man, the myth, the legend, the most electrifying villain here in YouTube entertainment today, Mr. General Zod. And welcome to, I got a new person here, Michael Moore. Welcome. Anyone else who is in the chat or who will jump in, give Michael a warm welcome for coming here into the Fandom Zone, where all opinions are appreciated and welcomed. What up, Stone Cold Jeremy? Good to see you, brother. Good to see you in the chat. We'll probably have some more people jumping in here, but tonight we got some great topics. What up, Trey Courtney? Good to see you. And yeah, we got some funny stuff to talk about. You know, Cyber. I was in a bit of an angry mood today. Do you know why I was in an angry mood?
Why?
Well, because I had some people coming in and apparently saying stuff on my behalf. And look, you know, I appreciate that, but I think that the way things get blown out of proportion in the Twitterverse and online is when you start having these things of he said, she said kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Kind of. I'm usually on the side of those arguments, and if I ever get in those arguments, I ignore them, and they disappear. Poof. I'm not kidding with that.
Yeah, you know. So, anyways, I'm looking to have some fun tonight. And how are you doing, Cyber? I heard you got some stuff going on. Let people know before we get started what it is you do, because I heard some rumors you talk politics or have political videos on your channel.
God. Yeah, I have political videos, and you spend the $500 on the fucking mobile app. Anyways, I'm Cyberneck Husky. My main channel has gone to shorts. I have a video coming out tomorrow. This is a big surprise, big announcement. You gotta look for that. You gotta keep your eyes on that. But anyways, I usually do shorts on that. Maybe sometimes I'll throw some videos on there. But right now I am focusing on my Twitch because I want to get up to affiliate, and I'm getting pretty close. I just need to get the average viewers up to 3, which I'm like 1 away, but it has all that. It has a bunch of stupid percentages, and then last I checked, after today, I was at 22 followers. So, and you need 50 to get that affiliate.
All right. And really quick, welcome to Moan Flip. Welcome, Gary North. Yes, it is definitely you know, awesome to see you doing that. I don't know how that world works, but you know.
yeah, it's all fun. I forgot. Tomorrow, because I've been asking people, I'll probably do some PS2 games later because one guy asked that, but I have to dig for them. But my younger brother lent me his Jedi Fallen Order on Xbox, so I'm going to begin starting to play that on Twitch tomorrow.
Ooh, that sounds exciting. Exciting stuff.
Yep. And I have this weird feeling right now. This is not about my channel. By looking in the chat, I have a weird feeling that Michael Moore is Senate, only because the way he talks is very similar to the way the Senate talks to you. I could be dead wrong.
It could be. It could be. The Senate is an elusive one.
Yeah, and I know he just started talking now, but I mean, so similar.
No, the Senate is in the chat, and so is Jamie Vick. Welcome, Jamie Vick. Good to see you. So tonight we got some awesome stuff to talk about. Wanted to talk about some Marvel, but I'm waiting for Mr. PB to come in here to give his expert advice. You know, he is all things Marvel.
Yes. What are we looking at? Okay, I see. Had to read the
So,
description quick. Get a refresher.
so yes, it is going to be really, really fun and interesting night today. So,
Yeah.
anyways, first thing that I wanted to go over here tonight. Let me pull up some of my articles here. I'm trying to see which one I want to throw out here first. So, want to talk about an article written by Forbes tonight and the 2020 box office and what it's going to be like in 2020 from 2019, because it's a funny title by Forbes, because one of the movies did make a majority of the box office. The other movie did not. So I'm really curious as to exactly where they got their stats and their figures from. And, you know, I'll let the chat decide whether or not which movie is probably the bigger box office draw. But Cyber, I'm pretty sure you can guess what two movies they will be talking about in this article.
Yeah, I saw your article thing, so I'm pretty sure it's Endgame and then The Rise of Skywalker.
Yes.
Yeah, correct. Yes.
So, Forbes magazine did a piece, and it's by our favorite senior contributor, Mr. Scott Mendelson. So, you know, Star Wars had to go in there because, you know, old Scotty boy loves his Star Wars. So he's talking about what the quarter may look like. Now, keep in mind, people, Scott Mendelson is a hit or miss. Some things he's gotten right, a lot more wrong, but this is just about the general box office and opinion, so take it as you will. But even in normal circumstances, the 2020 biggies, No Time to Die, Wonder Woman 1984, F9 and Quiet Place, Bad Boys for Life, etc., weren't going to measure up to the last 2 years of Disney's mega blockbusters. And probably why Scotty Boy brings that up is because he's a big fan of being on top of Mickey Mouse, and I don't mean that in I mean that in a literal sense, not in a figurative sense. So, if things had gone topsy-turvy, we'd be discussing or ignoring the 4-week domestic totals of Bloodshot, around 20 million. I still believe around 28 million if it was a laggy as The Shack and The Hunt, around 13 million as it exited theaters day 28. But we're approaching 1 month mark of when domestic theaters went almost entirely dark. So instead of discussing domestic launch of No Time to Die, we're talking about the VOD release of Trolls World Tour. So yes, it makes sense that according to the London-based research firm Gower Street Analytics, there we go, domestic box office would be down around 40%. 40%. That is that's a problem. That's really bad. I believe the box office was down about 20% in 2019, give or take. So yeah, this is this is really, 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 really yeah, he sounds like a Scott, Michael Moore said. Yeah, so first, yes, theaters are closed. When you don't have an open multiplex to show newly released movies, these multiplexes don't sell tickets and they don't make money. It's hard to not look at this unprecedented unprecedented situation as a glorified mulligan. That's especially true when many of the summer's big movies, F9, Minions 2, Ghostbusters Afterlife, and Jungle Cruise, have been moved to 2021. We all complained and speculated how 2014's box office was a seasonal slump for much of the summer compared to 2013. But when we didn't seem to notice that it was mostly due to Pixar's The Good Dinosaurs, Furious 7, and 50 Shades of Grey, all getting delayed to 2015. I don't know why 50 Shades of Grey is put in it. I forgot that was a movie. Those films made up to 500 to 650 million in lost domestic revenue, with nothing new to fill the vacuum. Theaters being closed for the entire quarter, if not longer, would automatically do cruel numbers on a comparative box office. Moreover, even when theaters do reopen, presumably they open closer to July than October, the industry will still have lost out on several major releases, with the hopes that those films can approximate whatever they would have to gross in 2020 under normal circumstances in their new early 2021 slots. Furious 7, which was delayed specifically because of Paul Walker's tragic death, which made the film more of a cultural zeitgeist moment, and 50 Shades of Grey, which had become more of a media darling and of the moment sensation, arguably grossed more in 2015 than they would have in 2014. F9 may have overperformed domestically, if not quite Furious 7, 350 million sum total due to the delay. If the theaters open on schedule, and that's a big if, especially with AMC already $5 billion in debt before the corona pandemic hit, and the audiences revert to normal movie-going habits. Also, a big unknown variable, the domestic box office is looking around 6.36 to 6.82 billion for the year, the lowest raw gross in over 20 years, and 40% behind 2019's 11.4 billion gross. However, 2020 was always going to be down year compared to 2019 and 2018. The last 2 years were bolstered by unprecedented slate of Disney mega movies, while rivals held back some of their A-level product due to the forthcoming Disney tsunami, which was the likes of Wonder Woman 1984, F9, No Time to Die, Bad Boys for Life, Top Gun Maverick, were never going to make up the difference. 2018 saw the House of Mouse offering 600 million plus grossers, Black Panther, Avengers Infinity War, and The Incredibles 2, while 2019 gave the theaters Avengers Endgame, The Lion King, Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, and Frozen.
I forgot that one. I forgot a couple of them. I forgot Aladdin, and I also forgot the Captain Marvel.
Yeah, that was all in that slate. So I mean, it was a good year for Disney, and
Disney
whether
made
you like
fucking bank last year.
Oh yeah, and whether you like or hate them, their movies were the biggest money makers. You know, Avengers Endgame and Lion King actually being the top, and then Rise of Skywalker behind Avengers Endgame and The Lion King. That's fucking hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Last year was a fire sale, with Disney unleashing the biggest installments of its biggest brands, both of those from films to Disney Plus. Sooner
Purpose
had
in the
to
back room. Also, PB mentioned Far From Home, a part of that list. It's a really big list.
Yeah, it was a huge list. I think a lot of people, forgot the different type of films that were coming out at that time. So, I mean, like or hate Disney, they made a good majority of that box office last year. Welcome, Perp.
What are we talking about?
We are talking about the box office and how 2020 was always going to be in trouble despite new releases. So coronavirus or Hollywood? I'm gonna let
I mean,
the people decide.
if there wasn't any like this whole Corona thing didn't happen, I think the box office would have been fine.
So you're of the opinion that the box office would have been just just fine, even without, the coronavirus does play a major part of it.
Yeah. If like the coronavirus didn't make a like it obviously impacted the box office now, but if the coronavirus didn't exist or this never happened, I think everything would have gone as it planned, and that's just me.
Well, let's see what old Scotty Boy still has to say here, because I love Scott Mendelson so much. Anyways, he's kissing Disney's ass in this article. Uh, but this year would see Disney offering Mulan, Black Widow, Eternals, Jungle Cruise, and 3 animated originals, Onward, Soul, and Raya, and The Last Dragon. Conversely, Warner Bros. Was to offer a 1-2 punch of their own with Wonder Woman 1984, In Heights, and Tenet. I was really looking forward to Tenet, to hopefully reverse their miserable fortunes of 2019, which, that's debatable. They had some films. Paramount had Sonic the Hedgehog, which earned $146 million, A Quiet Place Part 2 to release March 13th, and Top Gun Maverick June 26th, while Universal was hoping to undo the stench of Cats and Doolittle with No Time to Die, which was distributing already overseas. F9 and Minions 2 was going to follow shortly on their heels. Some of these films have been pushed to later 2020. Some have gone to 2021, and none were expected to compare to Disney's 2019 biggies. Save for Wonder Woman 1984, whose predecessor earned $412.5 million domestic in 2017. None of this year's presumed big mega movies from Disney or elsewhere were expected to even match Joker's $335 million or Aladdin's $353 million, let alone Frozen 2, Avengers Endgame, or The Lion King. Like 2014, which saw numbers of their past their prime franchises, Amazing Spider-Man 2, Transformers Age of Extinction, and etc. Doing battle with no Tony Stark in the MCU movies, The Winter Soldier, and Guardians of the Galaxy, 2020 was also going to be a down year. Not only would there be no Avengers movies to goose the summer earnings, this would be the second year after 2006 without a Star Wars, a J.K. Rowling's Wizarding installment, a Peter Jackson directed Middle-earth movie, a Hunger Games, a Twilight Saga flick, or anything comparable. This was likely to be the first year since 2005, topped by Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, with $308 million without a $4 million domestic earner, and possibly the first year without a $1 billion grosser since 2007's Pirates of the Caribbean. Sure, Wonder Woman 1984 may have crossed the 400 million. Fast 9, the Fast Saga, may have again earned 350 mil plus in China and another billion global finish, but A, those are not guaranteed outcomes. B, there were the only plausible contenders for those respective milestones. Point being, yes, the domestic box office is down by 40%. Even if things return to normal June or July, but 2020 was always going to be down year compared to 2019. This was mostly due to Disney's Everything Must Go avalanche and a comparatively small earnings from Disney for this year, which wouldn't have been matched by the best and brightest from Warner Brothers, Universal, Paramount, and Sony, with many of the biggest summer 2020 movies coming from Disney are now shipped off to 2021. Even a return to normalcy would see comparatively punctuated high-end theatrical products compressed compared to the latter years. The coronavirus is certainly a primary factor in these terms of the massively decreased box office totals, since you can't earn a box office if the theaters are closed. But the pandemic merely added to an already preordained comparative deficient year compared to 2019. The real story of how this affects Hollywood won't be told until 2021 and 2022. So, do you guys think that Scotty Boy is right? Do you think that
No,
we're always into a low year, or do you think that he's just spinning his wheels like always?
it sounds it kind of sounds stupid. It's just like we don't have $1 billion movie. Like, yo, Black Widow is most likely going to make $1 billion. Would have most likely made $1 billion. Wonder Woman would have made $1 billion. Would have made $1 billion. A Pixar movie probably Soul would have probably gotten close to that. Um, we don't need it. Like, to me, we don't need an Avengers movie every year. Like, it was only rare to get back-to-back Avengers movies like that. That's only like a once in a while type of deal. Like, Avenger movies don't usually come out in like at least for like 3-4 years. So it's like,
And here's the thing that boggles my mind with these numbers. They are telling you the numbers of when they say something hit $1 billion, that's not $1 billion domestically, that's foreign and domestic box office together 90% of the time to make that figure. The domestic is always a little bit lower than the foreign, and then you add the two, and that's where you come up with your overall total, your overall box office. But if we're just going with the domestic, right? Nothing ever really makes $1 billion domestically,
oh yeah, that's a
except
whole
for
different.
Joker.
That's a whole different story. Like, domestic people over here on the States is just really fickle. So it's like you never know what certain movies are going to do. And I'm pretty sure when things kind of get back to normal, like whatever big movie, like say for instance, like things get back to normal by like June or July, this might actually help Wonder Woman even more, because it's like that's like the first big blockbuster, whatever, that people are gonna get to see, and then we got to see with Black Widow, and Black Widow might do good because people might just be hungry to go out and go to the movies and stuff, and you know. So
Oh yeah,
whatever movies come out like the last part of the year, whatever, I think they're gonna do probably fine. They might benefit off of just pushing out of certain dates and staying in 2020 and not pushing it all the way out to 2021.
Yeah. We'll have to see when it gets there, but yeah, I'm pretty sure once all this shit lifts up, people will be wanting to go out and do things.
Right.
yeah. The biggest thing I think is that this could be used as a benefit for certain movies that weren't going to do good, because I think the analysts are looking at this wrong. People have been stuck in their house for like a month and some change now. People are dying to get out of their house and do things. Here in
Mhm.
Wisconsin, we had fucking snow. I have no clue why, but normally on a day like this, when people can be walking or something, they'd go to the movies. I think we're going to see a big uptick in whatever the first movies are. It could be fucking Trolls. I mean, it's coming to VOD, but it could have been Trolls that have been out, and you would have seen a ridiculous box office because
It-
people have been cooped up, like you said,
Did
like those moviegoers.
did the Christopher Nolan movie get pushed back?
Yeah, Tenet got pushed back because it was supposed to be released the end of this month.
Is it still slated for 2020, or are they pushing it to 2021?
No, it's still slated for 2020. They just haven't given a date yet. That makes me
Yeah,
nervous. So
yeah, they'll probably either release it in July or something like that, or some or or something like that. But yeah, there's nothing really to be worried about, man. Because like I said, like people just are thirsty to get out. So anywhere, any business, any entertainment thing, like they're gonna probably do record breaking numbers and shit. Because people are just gonna be like, yeah, we just gotta go out anywhere. I don't give a fuck what type of movie it is. It could be a trash ass movie, like you know what I'm saying. But we just gotta wait and see.
Yeah, well, watch. It'll be Fast and Furious. They'll do like 3 billion, and we'll be like, "How the fuck did this happen?" We'll see
Yeah.
9 more sequels now.
That'd be interesting if Fast Nine said, "Hey, we're just gonna move our shit back since everything's like, or move back into 2020 since you know everything's back to normal. Dropping like September or something like that."
And I'm surprised that so many studios took suit. I mean, it's a smart business plan, but if you look at it, Disney pushed like a good majority of their stuff till next year or till closer to the end of this year, just to be sure. This is a good time for another company to put out like a movie ahead of them and try to steal the box office.
Yeah,
So
most definitely.
yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see exactly where everything lands, where everything ends up being. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean, Husky, this is your chance to get your candidacy going. You're going for that 2020 run.
No.
Don't let him fool you. He's a political animal. So, yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see where the figures are. I've always had this theory that the box office is getting kind of slow. I know before we closed down our theater, we had a bit of slow traffic. I think that falls mostly too on what the studios were releasing. So,
Right.
I mean, it also depends on the numbers and the things that they want to push. Like, and this thing with Disney dominating the box office, this is a perfect time for you guys to bring out stuff you wouldn't run against Disney.
Yeah, I think who's gonna benefit a lot more now I think about it is indie movies. Indie movies are gonna do well.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. So I think all of those independent, struggling creators should just start releasing stuff.
Yeah, just start releasing stuff. And like I said, whenever things just get normalized, just throw it in, like August, September, October, November, December. You know what I'm saying?
Now,
Start
here's a
loading.
question. Here's an interesting question for the panel. What do you guys think Christmas is going to look like? Disney normally hits that spot with them pushing back their movies or releasing like Black Widow and the other ones that they were going to release. That's going to be an interesting fight. That's like prime real estate right now.
Yeah, I think what's the face is gonna be all right. I think the James Bond movie is coming out around Christmas, so I think that's gonna eat up most of the box office.
Oh yeah, I'll be there watching that. I got to get my clickbait video ready. There's going to be 15 reviews talking about how woke it is. I reserve my judgments, but I'm not really hopeful by the trailers. So it'll be interesting to see how this all goes. And, let's get in another Corona-free member. Mr. Pop Culture PD, what do you think of the box office situation? Is this your time to release March Madness in the theaters?
No, I ain't got the budget for that. Are you kidding me?
Apparently,
Like,
Hollywood doesn't have
this
the
is a
budget.
time of apocalypse. Nobody has any money unless you had the money before it. Like all them asshole celebrities that go, oh, we're in this together. I was like, okay, if we're in it together, send me a check.
Yes. Yes, please. I need villain needs money.
Just to get through the apocalypse. Once it's over, I'll be fine. Like then I'll be okay. But until then, while we're in this together and the box office is being destroyed, we can supplement it by you sending me a check so I can watch your movie when it gets released on some streaming platform that I can't afford to pay for because of Corona Apocalypse.
Yeah, man. Like, what up, Curtis? It's good to
Nico.
see
What's up,
you.
Curtis and Nico?
I love Nico's comment. Thank you, Nico. Spreading the word. Kneel before Zod, unworthy humans. I agree, Nico. Facts. But yeah, it's very interesting. And PB, let me ask you, because Perp is thinking that Scotty Boy is off on this, and well, we know
He's off
Scott
on
Mendelson.
everything. He's off his
Yeah,
fucking
he's off
rocker.
on everything. But he does bring up some pretty interesting points in his article. Do you think the box office was already going to be low in your mind before Corona Apocalypse?
I mean, if you're going based off of the trends, it was going to be lower than the previous year, but nothing that was going to be so terrible that studios were going to have to shut down and production companies were going to have to shut down. Like, they were all going to be fine. They were all making more than one movie anyways. Like, you tell me one company out there that only put out one movie last year, and then they didn't make any money off it, and now we roll around to this year, and they can't put out the movie because all of the theaters are closed, so they have to close up shop. It doesn't exist. There is no company in that situation right now at all.
Yes, exactly. I think that the box office was always trending lower. Given what I've seen in theaters, the crowds were a little bit lower, but I don't think that's helped situations. I think this will fend the strong from the weak. I mean, AMC, man, they they better get a government bailout, or they may not be around. Like, they were
Right. I
looking
mean,
bad before this.
yeah, it's gonna hurt the theaters, like the actual physical theaters, the building that you went to watch the movie. It's gonna hurt them far more than anybody that was putting the movie in the theater. Like, it's not even close.
So, I mean, we'll keep an eye on it, keep you guys informed, let you know what's going down. Me personally, if I was like Universal or Paramount or anyone going up against the sodomizing mouse, trademarked by Zod, now would be the time where I would release every fucking back burner project, whatever, towards the end of the year and try to grab as much money as I can, because Disney is banking on 2021 and the end of 2020 possibly. We'll see how it goes, but I think now
Well,
that
I
the
mean,
mouse is
right. You talk about they're banking on the end of the year. It'll be interesting to see what movies are able to capture that magical holiday money that apparently is guaranteed to every movie that gets released then. Like, that's the only reason why Star Wars movies in the modern era can make money, is because they're released around Christmas. That's the only reason Solo failed, is because they didn't release it around Christmas. Well, this year, we'll find out.
yeah, this will be definitely an interesting year to keep the eye on the box office. And when the movies return, I think I'm gonna get a little bit more in depth in the reviews and actually do box office numbers, just to keep track of what they look like reopening and how strong they are. So, it'll be an very interesting
I
thing to
mean,
see.
on your end, it'll be interesting when they allow you to go back to work at the theater if everybody immediately is welcome back, because I assume that when they shut it down, they clean the building, and it's essentially just been sitting there waiting for movies to be released again, or, for them to change the recommendations so that you can hang out with more than 9 people. Or be within 6 feet of somebody else.
Yeah, that'll be definitely a very interesting thing to see. But I'm gonna go on to something else interesting. PB and I guess Perp. Cyber,
Dude,
I don't know where you
you're
land
a
on
villain
this.
and a hero.
Are you
See
guys
that?
ready to? What's that?
Curtis said, then why is Zod my hero? Just kidding. Why the fuck did I go that far? Fuck. No, Curtis, like, he can be a hero. He doesn't have to be the hero. Like, you can have more than one. Like, they're called comic books, not comic book.
Speaking of comic books, are you guys ready to talk about some rumors? They may be true, they may not be true, but they revolve around Black Widow.
Hold on, I need to grab my salt shaker. What the
All
fuck was
right.
that?
I never tell people what I do to make that sound.
That's disgusting.
So, major Black Widow plot leak reveals villain holds key to introducing Wolverine and Deadpool into the MCU. So,
Really?
yes, a possible major plot leak has been revealed in the Black
Hold
Widow
on,
villain Taskmaster.
pause. Hold on. What website are you getting this from?
This is from the Hindustan Times.
What?
The what?
Hindustan
I got
Times.
this covered.
It could have been sourced by
heard of
We Got This
before.
Covered. And the leak
Okay, we got this uncovered.
was from Reddit. So, like I said,
So-
grain of
okay.
salt.
Giant, like a
Right.
spoon of salt.
Yes. So, this is probably a bunch of bullshit because we all know Marvel doesn't have a leaky ship like Star Wars. So,
If they had a leaky ship, we would have all known about the snap before it happened.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they do have like a leaky ship, but like they throw out bullshit. I believe someone out there throws out bullshit stories to throw you off.
That's possible.
So
Okay.
this could
There's
be
been people who've
Kevin
done that.
Feige on Reddit. We don't know. A possible Black Widow plot leak has revealed the motivations and true nature of the villain Taskmaster, and also major spoilers about the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. While it hasn't officially been confirmed yet, so I like to highlight that so people don't start posting
you got
this.
do you have your banners up that you can put rumor on the screen?
I can put disclaimer.
No, not disclaimer. I want it to say rumor.
Highlight the message. Highlight the message that I put. No, not disclaimer. That the one I put in.
Oh, I can't. If it's in our. Wait, hold on.
No, he put a message in the fucking live chat.
Put it in the live chat. It's in the yeah, there we go.
So, take this with a grain of salt, people. Stone Cold Jeremy, I see what you're doing. I'm not going to be baited into that. So, While it hasn't been officially confirmed yet, Taskmaster is said to be played by O.T. Big Benel. I have no clue who that is. In the upcoming film. In the comics, Taskmaster has the ability to mimic actions of any person that he observes. The trailer has already revealed that he will channel the powers of Black Panther and Hawkeye. The leak shared on Reddit via Inverse suggests that in addition to the characters such as Iron Man and Captain America, Taskmaster in the film will also boast skills of characters we haven't seen in the MCU so far. Wolverine, Ghost Rider, Moon Knight are just a few of the characters whose skills Taskmaster will briefly tap into, thereby opening the door for introductions to these franchises, which have been made possible after Disney's takeover of 20th Century Fox as their asset. In the film, Taskmaster will be a former SHIELD operative, much like the Winter Soldier. He will claim responsibility for sending Crossbones into battle with the Avengers at the beginning of Captain America Civil War. Black Widow is the prequel set between the events of Civil War and Avengers Infinity War. It was Taskmaster that decided to become a double agent and orchestrate Hydra's, Robert Redford's, eventual takeover of S.H.I.E.L.D. during the events of Winter Soldier. The leak continues. Eventually, Taskmaster activates about a dozen or so of unfinished prototypes and unleashes the super amphitoids on the Widows. God, I hope that's not a thing. Each prototype fights and behaves like their individual Avengers member, as Taskmaster had previously been using them as sparring partners. As such, they will be unable to automatically switch styles of their current programmed state. The leak collaborates a previous report that Taskmaster will be revealed to be working with Thunderbolt Ross in the film's mid-credit scene. In addition to possessing powers of the Avengers, such as Spider-Man, Iron Man, Captain America, and Ant-Man, among others, he will possess the powers of characters such as Wolverine, Deadpool, and Moon Knight. Deadpool's Easter egg will be shown through dual katanas and reference to a fool that never shuts his mouth. Meanwhile,
I thought a good reference to Deadpool would actually just be Ryan Reynolds in a seductive pose.
yeah,
Yeah,
or
picture.
him just walking by, like waving. That would be hilarious. Meanwhile, the Wolverine hint will be shown through Panther claws and a reference to needing to be nearly invincible in order to use them effectively. Black Widow, directed by Kate Shortland and starring Scarlett Johansson, Florence Page, Rachel Weisz, and David Harbour, is slated for a November release. So, do we think this is bullshit, or could this be a thing?
I mean, it could
bullshit.
totally be a thing, but it sounds like total bullshit.
It really does. I'm not
Like,
buying the Deadpool
I mean,
thing, and it
that's what
has to be
Stone
Ryan
Cold Jeremy
Reynolds
said in the
seductively.
chat. Like, Ghost Rider has no moves. He's a what do they call him? He's a particular style of being. He's not like a demon, but it's similar to like a demon. He has
Spirit.
mystical powers. Yeah, he's a
Spirit.
spirit. So I didn't realize that Taskmaster could take on the powers of other people like Rogue. Explain this to me, General.
He can't. That would be total bullshit because he can. The reason why he's so deadly is because he can mimic fighting styles specifically,
Yeah.
or how people use their weapons.
Yeah,
But he
just like
can't
Stone
actually
Cold saying
mimic
he
powers.
cannot reproduce other powers. Stone Cold saying that, which was
No.
my understanding after reading him. It just said, oh, he can mimic. So like, if you did like if Zod did a martial arts demonstration and he saw that he could mimic it perfectly.
Yeah, that's what makes him so deadly because it's essentially like fighting yourself.
I mean,
Which
you don't
like
have to make Taskmaster sound like an 8-year-old.
Now, if they had a Deadpool reference with Taskmaster, it would be, the thing that he did with his blades, because everybody knows that, from Origins Wolverine, and then when they re-referenced it and in the second Deadpool movie.
Yep.
That
So
would
what-
be like, oh, that would be a good teaser, but
So,
once again, it's
so-
not his powers, that's one of his abilities with his fighting.
so
Go
is
ahead,
this so is Taskmaster just sitting in like a room, just watching a bunch of like videos, highlight tapes of like heroes fighting, and be like, all right, this is how I'm gonna do it, like some Tybo shit. Because I don't know, man. Like,
I think
ultimate
Stone
Billy
Cold
Banks.
Jeremy put it the best. He says Taskmaster has photographic reflexes. He mimics Spider-Man or Daredevil or any other agility-based character. So
sounds
he
lame.
can mimic. Well, it sounds lame, but in the comic books, it's kind of cool.
I mean, like I said, like before, like a while ago in the stream, like when we saw the first like Black Widow trailer, and it just seemed like more of the same of what Marvel's been doing. It's like, oh, let's just find a dude that's the evil version of this, or just has the same move sets and it's more the same.
Well,
Yeah,
let's. I mean, if they're making it more realistic, let's give like a real life example here. Nobody, because you guys were talking about this. Oh gosh, I don't remember when. I think it was on LB's stream when you were talking about Floyd Mayweather Jr. Nobody's been able to ever beat Floyd Mayweather Jr. But if somebody showed up in a boxing ring and boxed identically to Floyd Mayweather Jr., you know what would happen? Not a fucking thing, because he's a defensive boxer and nobody would ever throw a punch. They just dip back and forth, and then they go 12 rounds and be like, well, I guess it's a draw.
That's kind of what I'm waiting for in this movie, though, with Taskmaster, where there's a mirror fight. Mainly because when those things are choreographed correctly, they are beautiful. When they're
So
not, it's just,
Right.
Stone Cold Jeremy says, but as far as physically, he's a peak human similar to Captain America. So
Okay, he says similar. You're the one that has this comic book knowledge. Does he have some type of serum in him?
no, not as far as I remember. I'd have to go back because it's been a while. Taskmaster isn't really in like the runs that I read, which is like Captain America, and, that normal stuff. So, and I never really read much of Black Widow. I only liked her in the movies. So,
in reality, he's more set up like the Winter Soldier, because there's no super
it sounds
serum in the Winter Soldier at all, but he's in peak physical condition.
yeah, that'd be the best comparison. He's more like he's like an average Joe that's slightly above average. He could still be like if he went up against like the Hulk, he wouldn't stand a chance.
Yeah, he can't mimic that. He can't mimic a smash.
No. He's a very like surgical character. Like if they're going after someone, I would dare say even if he got the drop on Captain America, he might be able to stand with him fighting wise. But Cap would have the advantage because of the super soldier serum. So he's a really weird villain. There's not very many spots to use him.
I've seen pictures of the Taskmaster. I was like, bro, they could have done that. Like, why do they have to make him look like a Power Ranger?
Because they're trying to make
Bert.
a movie better than Aquaman.
I agree 100%. I don't understand the reasoning behind that. It's a bit. But
the only thing that I can, I guess, almost halfway believe this, because I do not. It sounds like about, I don't know, 99% bullshit, but the MCU does not necessarily take the characters from the comic books and bring them one for one onto the screen. There's minor changes here, minor changes there. But if they change the Taskmaster to having rogue style powers, where you're essentially you can touch somebody or watch somebody and then get a healing factor like Wolverine, so that you can have, what did it say, panther claws?
Yeah.
Like that's when I knew it was total bullshit. I was like, wait a second, why the fuck would he have panther claws if it's Wolverine? Wolverine doesn't have panther claws. Like,
Right.
if you're gonna have panther claws, that's closer to Sabretooth.
Now, PB,
I
you know it'd
mean-
be cool if he had like the shit that Iron Man has in his palms to like shoot off like little beams and shit, or like the
Ooh, I mean, stuff like that I can get on board with, because I mean, technology is technology. I mean, Whiplash was able to build an arc reactor all by himself and build a whole nother suit all by himself. I would think that somebody on the evil side, the Hydra side, can build something similar to the Iron Man technology. If we're talking blasters, arc reactors, flight ability, shit like that.
I mean, because like I don't know, like I don't like I see this. It's kind of like an issue for me. I guess not to everybody else, but like the way these villains are just getting their technology, like it's either like, oh, just some Tony Stark tech that's just been sitting around, or some the fucking alien technology is just sitting around. Nobody just, hey, we should go pick this stuff up. Like everybody, that's how everybody gets their fucking powers and abilities and stuff. I was like, y'all gotta be a little bit more responsible how you get rid of your shit.
See,
Like,
that's why I liked Spider-Man
that's kinda-
Homecoming. Because they
Right.
gave you a reason why the villains had the technology. They were part of the pickup crew from the Avengers movie, and they picked up the technology and, you know, reverse engineered it. That made sense. So I agree with you, Parp.
Right.
it's just
They
kind of
had
weird.
one scientist working for them, and then a bunch of criminals that would go out there and do the actual stealing of money or other weapons to sell to people.
Yeah, that made a lot more sense than, you know, just the government being like, yeah, we can quarantine a whole section of the fucking desert off for Thor's hammer, but we can't fucking locate, like, you know, a piece of alien gear that just happened to be found by some random dude walking. Like, they're very
Like,
inconsistent.
I'm pretty sure, like, whenever they introduce the Green Goblin, they're gonna say his glider comes from fucking some alien tech, or it's like a fucking Tony Stark prototype or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
You
I
say
think
it's in-
one of the
Go ahead, Simon.
reasons, I think one of the reasons with the hammer, it was kind of obvious it fell from the freaking sky. That's probably why
Well,
they were able to track it
and-
down.
I would say where they were at in the MCU timeline, you had a lot more people in the government. You had all of S.H.I.E.L.D. that was watching for that kind of stuff. And if we're talking right after the Winter Soldier, you have no S.H.I.E.L.D. to be looking for things.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. Stone Cold Jeremy says it sounds like they're turning Taskmaster into some type of bullshit MacGuffin. I can agree with that. What's that?
I said, what about McMuffins?
MacGuffin.
Delicious.
No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. It's
But
just
yeah,
funny when somebody uses the term whatever you just said. McGuffin.
McMuffin.
MacGuffin, yeah. In case people don't know, you know, it's movie magic that is a plot convenience. It's whenever a writer isn't creative enough to think of how to move their story, they make a MacGuffin. You can see it a lot in Star Trek. Like, there's some things where they're like, oh shit, we just made this. And, well, it directly conflicts with what's going to come up next. So we need a magical bullshit thing to get us out. And 90% of the time, you can spot them. And
Well,
I
you
don't
got-
want the MCU to go down that route. They're like, oh, well, we got magic and all this stuff. We'll just throw in this.
Okay,
I mean, they
I don't
had
know. I
MacGuffins.
don't know anything about Taskmaster, but you need to put Trey Courtney's message on the screen.
Go ahead, read it out loud for us.
He said the MCU is going to waste another villain.
Makes sense.
I mean,
Yeah, probably.
I agree with that. If this is right, they're just using Taskmaster because they didn't know who to use for a villain, and they're like, okay, well, we have to use somebody that's exclusively connected to Black Widow. So they picked Taskmaster, but this is a movie that isn't going to continue the story forward, but is going to illuminate us on something that was going on in the background. So it's just a linchpin that they're going to pull and lay off to the side, and you can forget about it, because what happens at the end of the movie or in the post-credit scene is going to be all that matters.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
this is what this movie is starting to feel like. It's starting to feel like just a way to introduce what's coming up rather than a separate movie. And that kind of bugs me because I still feel like if I was Scarlett Johansson, I'd be a little bit salty about getting a movie like this because it just feels like something that they really don't care about except for advancing the next phase as opposed to making a good
It's
movie.
it's the same thing they did with Black Panther, essentially, because they didn't really have any faith in it. They just like, oh, let's just throw this together and put this before Infinity War and stuff. And
They didn't have any faith in the black people? That's terrible. Ridiculous. Like
So-
I mean, I have faith in all of the movies. Like I have faith in them, and then I watch them, and then I go, well, it was good, it was bad, it was pointless, it wasn't pointless. I mean, you can look at a lot of the Marvel movies and say, well, they wasted another person. I mean, everybody says that about the Mandarin from Iron Man 3, and I will stick by my guns forever. I freaking love Trevor, and he's one of the best characters in any Marvel movie that has ever been made. I didn't say he's one of the best villains. He's one of the best characters.
That's suspect. That's suspect.
It's not suspect. Like, nobody, that's another one of those things where, especially if you were a comic book nerd, nobody saw that twist coming at all. Because I remember watching that movie the first time, and he goes in there, and they're like, what the hell's going on here? This is the Mandarin? And I was like, yes, maybe? And he's like, no, I'm just Trevor. And I was like, oh my God, they played him. They played him good. And I mean, technically, you could say he was a MacGuffin because they had to go and find the Mandarin in the movie, but they didn't technically have to find the Mandarin because he had already found them, at least in that movie. Because what the hell was his name? The guy that Tony pissed off?
Oh, I forgot. It's been a while since I've seen that movie.
Here's
okay, we'll just call him Fire Breath.
little note.
Right.
To speaking of the Mandarin, who do you guys? Even though like Shang-Chi is coming up and it kind of teases that the Mandarin might be in it, he might not be. Why else would you call it the Ten Rings? Who would you see playing him? Like if he, the real Mandarin? Donnie Yen?
Oh, man.
Trevor.
I mean, if it's got to be... Oh, I mean, as far as I know, he's still going to be in prison at that time. At least his character should still be in prison unless there's going to be some big breakout. I mean, I don't know a lot of big name Arab actors or Arab-looking actors, because I assume that the person who's running the 10 Rings has got to look like he's from either the Arabian Peninsula or Iran or Iraq or something like that. He's got to have that look about him. If it's like some Justin Hammer looking guy, I'm not going to believe it.
So
Should be interesting.
that would be interesting to see. But speaking of entertainment,
Oh
I want to
my
switch
God!
gears.
Hold on. Timon Flip said they're gonna put a woman as the Mandarin.
I heard the Taskmaster is gonna be a woman.
I mean, that's way more reasonable if the Taskmaster is a woman. I mean, that was the original rumor that I heard, like, I don't know, 2 months ago at this point. Was that, or no, it wasn't a rumor. It wasn't a rumor. I'll give credit where credit's due. I believe I was watching Film Theory, and they did the video of who the Taskmaster was going to be, and they said it was going to be not the blonde chick, but it's going to be Rachel Weisz. He thinks it's going to be Rachel Weisz. I believe that's what he said in the video, because he's like, well, it's not going to be the big guy, because he obviously is too big to be playing Taskmaster, like you'd be able to tell. It's got to be somebody who's about the same size as Black Widow, because you see him in the trailer. It's not like they're substantially taller or substantially shorter. They're about the same size. And then when you look at it, they're like, well, it's going to be one of those movies where you're introduced to the villain early on and you don't realize that they are the villain. So it's got to be somebody that you think is a good guy, but then ends up being a bad guy. And he narrowed it down in his mind and all of his fucking research that it was going to be her. So that wouldn't surprise me if Taskmaster is a woman. But there ain't no way that the 10 Rings being an, I don't know, Arab area of the world organization is going to have a woman running it. And if they do, it is 100% bullshit.
I thought the Mandarin was supposed to be Asian.
I mean, that's Asia. Like Saudi Arabia, Iran, that's Asia. Yeah. I mean, I don't think he's supposed to be like Indian or Chinese style Asian, which is why Shang-Chi, being from China, is fighting somebody to the west of him from invading and taking over China.
Okay.
Correct, Zod?
Yeah, you know how I feel about this via the Eternals movie, and I will be very much reviewing that with complete bias and prejudice.
Okay. I was waiting for you guys to finish, but are you noticing there's always, like, either for a hero or a villain, when the casting call hasn't come out, there's always a rumor that they gender swapped it?
Oh yeah.
It's getting annoying. The rumor is actually getting annoying than the actual thing. Because first you'll hear, oh, they gender swapped it. No, they race swapped it. No, they're going back. No, they did. And then you see the actual person and they didn't do shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it could be too. What a lot of companies do is float out these rumors just to see where the people land. And they watch, and if they're like, oh shit, a mass majority of people are saying that they don't like this, they'll typically tend to scale it back. Especially Disney is the biggest offender. They'll come out and say stupid statements, Brie Larson, and then they'll scale down within the movie and be like, yeah, we've already pissed off enough people, and we want people to still see our movie, so we're just going to swap this shit back. So
right. I mean, it's amazing the magic that they can do in the editing room. Like, you can film everything you want for months and months and months, but when they compile all the scenes and put it together, when they make that final cut, It's completely different than what you filmed. Like, you filmed a lot more stuff than went into the movie every time.
Yeah, I bet you Brie Larson was so happy with those scenes, and then someone was like, nah, we're gonna cut those scenes out. So I wanted to switch gears because this is a little bit of a passion piece of mine, and me and PB kind of started off talking about this, and this show finally gets an article, and I wanted to share it with all of you and with PB so that we can both smile at the justice that this article brings to this particular thing.
Oh,
So,
jeez.
yes, folks, we're going to switch gears to television for a second, and we're going to talk about 5 TV shows that infamously rushed their endings. Now, before I
Game
get
of Thrones.
started,
Let me just guess. Game of Thrones is number 1.
where do you guys? I want you guys to predict where you think Game of Thrones is going to land. It might be surprising, but it's definitely in there.
I would, I don't know what else is on the list, but I would be inclined to agree with my purple friend.
All right, so the article says television could be a rough business. Just look at what's happening right now with social distancing guidelines shutting down productions across the country. Even under normal circumstances, how Hollywood runs means that shows have to end before their time, leading to botched storylines, clumsy epilogues. Here are some key examples. Going on the heels of The Magician final episode, which felt like the writers had scrambled to turn the season final into a series final, we decided to look at some of the most famous shows that failed to stick their last landings, whether they were canceled because of ratings.
What show?
The Magician.
Oh, the Magician's on Sci-Fi?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I know. That was
It
my
ended?
favorite too. Yep.
Motherfuckers.
I'm sorry to be the bearer of that bad news. I like that show too. It was great, but thank you, social distancing, for fucking over television.
Okay, continue.
We decided to look at the most famous shows that have failed to stick their landings, whether they were canceled because of ratings or suffered from the writer's strike or had to deal with showrunners making bad choices. I think you know who I'm talking about there. There are some series that will live in infamy because of how they chose to close their stories. So, number 5 is Pushing Up Daisies. I actually like this show, and Brian Fuller got fucked like he did with Hannibal, but I'm not going to get into that. Just watch my Hannibal
that
video.
was a good show. That was a real good show, and it had a great premise behind it.
Yeah, it was. I really liked that show, and I was pissed, but you know, Brian Fuller once again.
The people in the chat don't know, Pushing Daisies was a TV show on ABC where the main character had died and got brought back from the dead and was given the gift that he was able to bring other things back from the dead. So he became a pie maker and had the best pies in all of the land because he always had the freshest fruit, even if it was rotten, because he could restore it to brand new because of his ability. It was fucking great.
And I see you can appreciate that because of the pie thing.
Damn right. I'm sure EBS loved it too.
If there was ever a series with worse luck, I'd be hard pressed to find it. Pushing Daisies was Brian Fuller's series that starred Lee Pace as a pie maker whose touch could bring people back from the dead. It was a cute, fun, quirky mixing the right elements of Tim Burton, Alama, and Dead Like Me. Unfortunately, it debuted during the middle of the Writers Guild of America strike, cocksuckers, which cut the first season from 22 episodes to 9. I remember The Shield took a hit on that. Luckily, you know, great writers. Upon its season 2 return, the ratings dipped and NBC decided to cancel it after 13 episodes, much to the surprise of Fuller, who got fucked by yet another company, and the writing staff, who were using the middle episodes of the season to focus some of the side characters, promising to return Ned and Chuck's main story in the back half of the season. After being canceled, the writers slapped together a 2-minute epilogue and gave everybody a quick happy ending. Chuck revealed she's alive to her mom and aunt. Emerson was reunited with his estranged daughter. Oliver opened a mac and cheese shop, and Ned did things, I guess. But here's the wild part. The series' final epilogue didn't air for 6 months. ABC stopped airing the show after the 10th episode in December of 2008 and didn't release the final 3, the ones focusing on the side characters, along with the epilogue until the following summer. So yeah, once again, I hate ABC. They're the worst company to have a show on. They cancel every fucking good show they ever get, and they keep the shitty ones on forever. This is my personal favorite at number 4. What was that?
I said debatable.
This is my personal favorite from Joss Whedon, Dollhouse. 2009 follow-up to Buffy the Vampire Slayer was about a series of houses around the world that remotely wiped people's personalities and replaced them with other ones.
Dollhouse was great too.
Yeah, I saw at least the last episode kind of gave closure, but you had to get the special edition DVD, which I just happened to have.
I mean, before you continue reading, did you think that the other chick in the apartment building was also a doll?
No, not at all. I was like,
Hell
holy
no.
fuck. And she was hot too. I'd be like, I could live with that.
Hell yeah. I was like, make a move, guy. Like, she's into you. Then they're like, oh, she's just a doll. I was like, well, whatever.
It's not like she remember it, but anyways, it was designed to explore the nature of personhood, with Eliza Duku's Echo forming her own personality despite continually having her mind erased. The show didn't click with audiences and the ratings were low, but Dollhouse managed to get renewed mainly because of Wheaton's fan base. Yep, I sent quite a few letters that year. The second season changed things up, moving into a more intimate story of identity into a giant conspiracy about a corporation trying to control the minds of people. Son of a bitch, I hate when it does that. And it like clicked off of the thing onto some preview. It was Tone Whiplash, one that got worse after Fox announced they were canceling the show while they were filming episode 11 and planning on a 13-episode season. This resulted in a wrap-up with the main plot that threw everything on the table and lit it on fire, including the reveal Echo's handler, Boyd, was the evil mastermind, followed by his near intimate death. Yeah,
yep.
It was
dumb as fuck.
And then there was Effizant 2, the series final, which was nigh incomprehensibly convoluted. It jumped into the post-apocalyptic future of Cough 2020, where the baddies had brainwashed almost the entire planet. Echo and her team work with people we'd never met before to save the world, even though they hadn't put an end to the show's main catastrophe in the previous episode. So why end it this way? Because it was a sequel to an episode they hadn't even aired. The first season DVD of Dollhouse came with bonus episodes starring none of the main characters that Whedon had filmed, so the series could qualify for international distribution. So, yeah, not only did Dollhouse... Yeah, I got the DVDs. Not only did Dollhouse speed through the end of its story, it also ended with an episode about stopping an apocalypse most of the audience knew nothing about. An interesting choice. Game of Thrones at number...
Holy shit, there's 2 that are worse?
Yeah.
Wow. Dun, dun, dun.
While other shows on the list rushed their endings because they'd been canceled by their networks, this is a lone example where it was rushed because the creators were scumbags. I'm sorry, I ad-libbed that. The creators seemed kind of done with it. HBO wanted to give Game of Thrones showrunner David Benioff and D.B. Weiss at least 10 seasons to tell the end of their story. No surprise, considering the dynamite success that was season 1 through 6. But for some reason, most likely their Star Wars trilogy, that didn't end up happening. And I'm not ad-libbing that. That says it in the article. Benioff and Weiss decided... I can't make it up. They really put that in the article. Benioff and Weiss
Take a freaking picture, man.
Benioff and Weiss decided to close out the series with 13 episodes split into 2 final seasons. Even though season 7 felt clunky at times, it paled in comparison to what we'd get in season 8. Of course, of 6 episodes, so much of the show's growth was thrown out the window. Characters were bounced from locations so quickly, it seemed like they all found fast travel, and their arcs were largely abandoned in favor of plot convenience. The White Walker invasion was something that had been a crucial part of the series since the beginning, which was undone in the span of a single episode, but perhaps the most egregious was the fact that Daenerys Targaryen became a dictator and was then dethroned in the span of an episode. Well, some folks, like myself, felt it made sense for the character to break bad. It was still rushed and poorly explained. Cut to several months, and Brandon Stark being named King of Westeros. The final journey of the throne was disjointed and tarnished.
Wait,
the legacy.
Did you just say he was named Cripple of Westeros? What?
Possibly. The final journey of the throne was so rushed and disjointed, it tarnished the legacy of television's greatest fantasy show. That's kind of remarkable. This one was close to me because I love this show, but Rome. From fake history to real history, Game of Thrones may be famous for its high production costs in the later seasons, but it's not the most expensive series HBO ever produced. And this is true. That honor goes to Rome, a co-production with the BBC about the glorious days of the Roman Empire, which cost over $100 million for the first season alone. The series was a huge... Oh, yeah. This show is spectacular, and the details that they got about Rome was great. If you guys haven't watched it, you should. I might do a review on it, but yeah,
It's one of them shows where it's like a regular drama-style show, but they're pulling stuff from history.
Yeah. The first season is about the death of Julius Caesar, but it's not told through the main characters they're talking about. It's told through 2 Roman soldiers. So we're like, yeah, you're kind of like journeying with them, and like one of them is close to Caesar, but like he gets like pulled away. It's a really good series.
You're better off just watching Spartacus, man.
It's yeah, I got that
country perp.
Yeah.
Whatever. Say white people, same shit.
You are on the wrong side of the Aegean Sea right there, guy. It's okay. It's all Mediterranean to me.
Europeans.
The first season.
I had to correct myself. They're not all white people. They're all Europeans. My fault.
That's right.
Cave Beckies.
The first season focused on the rise of Julius Caesar and ended with his assassinations. The creators planned for 5 seasons of the show, but HBO and the BBC didn't share their enthusiasm. So they just have a statement for him. They decided to go into blazing speed basically for the last season. HBO announced in 2000.
Blazing speed? Is that like Snoop Dogg speed?
Well, it's supposed to be based on Roman history, And the
Dude,
last
that was
season,
a dope smoking joke.
yes, I got it. His feed is right. HBO announced in 2006 the second season would be its last because of the high cost, only agreeing to a second season to capitalize on their initial investment. However, instead of simply carrying on with their own plan and ending the second season with Brutus's death, the creators and writers decided to run through a decades of Roman history in the final episode. It abruptly changed
Oh my God.
pace. Yeah, they went through like Cleopatra and all of it in like 2 episodes. It was crazy. I was like,
So,
what the
so
fuck?
did they get all the way to Constantine?
Yeah.
Is that the one they ended on?
Yeah, kind of. They kind of end where they start with the 2 soldiers, but it was really crazy.
No,
I was just like, what the?
they end with Constantine as the current emperor, or they make it past him?
No, they end with Constantine. I don't.
Aha! I knew it.
Yeah,
That was just a guess.
that was a damn good guess. And surprisingly, the one that takes the cake, the final one that everyone was so disappointed with, and probably Mamazad remembers this, Quantum Leap is at number 1.
Oh, my oldest sister would probably say the same thing. She loves that show so damn much.
The final episode of Quantum Leap has gone down in history as one of the bleakest series finals in television history. It's almost surreal how cavalier the final moments were. The series started with Scott Bacall as a traveler lost in time who found he could hop from body to body, but only wanted to find his way home. Around the end of season 5, the creator, Donald, was asked to write a season final that could also serve as a series final if the show wasn't renewed. The episode did its job, featuring plenty of callbacks to the previous leaps in the series, and it gave Dr. Sam new answers about Quantum Leap program. It even ended with Sam going back in time to help save Al, the bartender, and Beth's marriage. It was a touching episode, but ended cruelly. All of the other shows on this list tried to cram several storylines worth of plot into a couple of episodes. That's not what happened here. Instead, the show just said, fuck it. Immediately following the scene between Sam and Beth, we cut to a few title cards, tracked it to the end. We're told that Beth and Al stayed together, they had 4 children, which was nice. However, we also learned the horrible truth in the final lines of the series. Dr. Sam Beckett never returned home. Holy fuck!
So the guy who had been quantum leaping never got a happy ending.
No, I didn't
Sounds
make
like a dope ending to me.
No, I didn't make a typo. The show did. You could tell this ending was rushed because they didn't even spell the main character's name right. Rumors circulated for years that an alternate ending of the episode had been filmed where Beth had convinced Al to become a leaper so that he could go look for Sam himself, but it looks like those rumors never came true.
So it's like the Snyder cut.
Yeah, it's somewhere out there with the Snyder cut. YouTuber
It's in the same box, you know.
So a YouTuber named Allison Priegler found some photo negatives of the reported scenes, like right next to the Snyder cut, and last year a clip of it surfaced on Reddit. It doesn't ease the pain of a series that abandoned its protagonists in the time stream for all of eternity, but at least it's a promise that we could have got something better.
I mean, gosh, that ending almost seems like the ending of Stargate Universe that Timon was talking about ending too soon. Because they end that show where
I was pissy
they're
about
on the
that.
spaceship
Continue.
and they got to get to another galaxy. and it's going to take way too long, so they put all the characters in suspended animation cells, and then the show is over, so that it could possibly get rebooted in the future, but probably not. And I don't know 100%, but I'm pretty sure that one also fell victim to the writer's strike.
Yeah, it did. It was around that same time period. You know, it pissed me off because a lot of shows that didn't have the strong ratings, they just like immediately cut. And like the shows that did had a really short season. Like, for instance, I was over on the FX side watching the greatest cop drama ever made, The Shield. And that season was like 10 episodes, and normally it's like 16. So.
Oh, I thought you were going to say TJ Hooker.
Oh, no. I do like
What
TJ
about
Hooker, though. No,
TJ Hooker, the
say.
greatest cop show of all time.
I don't know that. Hooker.
You know, with Captain Picard, Captain Kirk. God, that was terrible.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, Bitchy Unicorn was here. Everybody make sure you wish her a belated Unicorn Day, which was yesterday. I didn't even know that was a fucking thing, but apparently there's an International Unicorn
Day for everything now.
So, Bitchy Unicorn. Perp's favorite national holiday is 420. So
that's every American's, everybody worldwide that smokes any type of cannabis. Cannabis is man's best friend, not a dog.
Dude, even the people who don't appreciate that holiday because everybody's mellowed out.
So I figured I'd go a different way with this question here. And chat, you guys go ahead and answer this question as well. I'm just going to go across the panel. What show do you think was taking off a television too soon? A show that you liked, and then you went to look for it and found out it was canceled. Husky, do you have anything?
Then I already answered. I went with Stargate Universe, but I would add Stargate Atlantis onto that because it got canceled more so over the production cost. And that was the reason why we got Stargate Universe, because they could pay all of the actors substantially less because it was a brand new show. Whereas at least the main actors on Atlantis, they were all getting a producer credit because they were going to go into season 6. And they're like, I don't know if we can afford this sci-fi show anymore, but we still want to make the Gate, so we'll just make a new show. And then they canceled it. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, at least I'll get a new one. And then they canceled that one too. So yeah, they canceled the Gate too early. It should still be going. Okay, you can go now, Husky.
Sure. I didn't have anything to say. I didn't have anything to say.
You're telling me that there are no shows that you used to watch that you feel got canceled prematurely?
Oh, yeah, I'll tell you one. You ready for it? Everyone remember the Spectacular Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that one went down during the writer's strike, but all I'm going to say is I have not liked any Spider-Man animation after that one was canceled.
There's only one that matters. It's Amazing Spider-Man. It's the only one that matters.
Oh, Battle of the Spider-Mans.
The Amazing Spider-Man?
Yeah,
that's the one from the 90s it's called?
Yes.
Okay, I couldn't remember what extra part to the title they added for that Spider-Man. It's been so long.
Stone Cold Jeremy, you win my heart. Firefly was a fucking masterpiece. It was probably Joss Whedon's fucking crowning jewel of television ever. And fucking Fox. That's all I gotta say. That, I mean, you want to talk about chemistry? That was a show where there was so much fucking chemistry, you wouldn't even think you were watching a show. You would think this was shit that was really happening because that cast was just, oh, my boy Malcolm Reynolds. R.I.P. Malcolm. R.I.P.
I have two choices, and they're both on streaming services. One was on YouTube, and the other one was on Netflix. The one on Netflix was 7 Seconds. That still is one of the best Netflix series. They had like a lot of potential. They had one season.
What is 7 seconds?
How can I describe it? Pretty much a drama where like there's a bunch of like suspect things going on with this police department in New Jersey, and like they're trying to cover a certain murder up and whatnot. It was really cool, but I understand why it got canceled. It pissed off probably a lot of cops and shit and all that, and people that support cops, and it was one of those. But the second one, and I just found this out like probably like a month ago or probably sooner. I was thinking there was going to get a second season because I have to double check on that, but it doesn't seem like it's coming back. But Wayne on YouTube, it's a series called Wayne where this dude literally just goes, his father dies and he makes it his mission to go track down the car that his dad drove, and he thinks that's pretty much he's entitled to that car, so he links up with this chick, and they head to Florida to go get this car. It's a dope ass show. If you haven't seen it, it's like 10 episodes long. Yeah, it was really cool. It was I feel like that like ended prematurely if they don't come back with a season 2, because there was still more they could do with that whole entire story. But
yeah, I agree. That Wayne was pretty good. Trey Courtney also, you win my heart, saying Spawn. Yeah, that was Spawn got canceled, and it was weird because it got canceled, and you could have ended it where they did, but it's still a pretty big cliffhanger. So I mean, like it was one of those weird like. They knew it was going to end, but left it open. And good news for you, Trey. I've been keeping tabs on my boy Todd McFarlane, and he's talking about reviving the series. So I'll keep everybody updated on that because I've been covering a lot of stuff around Spawn, and I actually got an article tonight about that. But yeah, that show was prematurely ended. It was the weird time period, and I talked about this in my comics talk. You can go check that out later after the stream. But Spawn came out in that dark, gritty tone ahead of its time. No one was doing that. So when it premiered on HBO, there was this cartoon on with sex, violence, people getting shot brutally, and people were like, "What the fuck is this?
Creepy hentai show?"
No, this is American hand-drawn like Spider-Man or X-Men, but R-rated.
Okay. I mean, Toonami was showing a bunch of anime and stuff like, Ninja Scrolls was on, I think it was on Cartoon Network for a minute.
PB, I think you should definitely check it out. I can send you some clips and stuff, but the drawing style is not anime. It's like Americanized drawing style. Like it'd be like bringing a comic book to life. But there were like orgies and shit. There's a scene where like the mob boss is having an orgy with 2 girls and then they get shot.
I don't know what you call hentai that's made with American art.
No, there isn't such a thing. Only the Japanese is doing that crazy shit. Actually, sidebar, I got tricked by a girl to go and see hentai. I didn't know what it was at the time. Yeah, she goes. Yeah. So this girl goes to me. There's a late panel because I went to the Anime Expo in Jersey. And there's a, in the Meadowlands perp, you know what I'm talking about.
No, I
And
don't.
oh, you
He's
never
in
been
South
to
Jersey.
I'm in South Jersey. I
uh,
don't fuck with North.
there was a big expo going on. I went there to see Full Metal Alchemist at the time was releasing stuff for Brotherhood up and coming out, which was supposed to stick closer to the manga. So I was dressed up like Scar, and we went there to the panel, and I
Lion.
met I met a Peruvian girl, and so she was like she was like, "Hey, I'm going to see this anime stuff I've never seen before. It's called hentai." I'm like, "What the fuck is hentai?" And she's like, "Well, you'll see." And I was
You
like,
probably
"Okay."
done your Googles.
I think the one
my
time you should have
God.
Googled it. It was the
You
one
sure
time you
about
should have
that?
Googled it to figure out what the
See.
fuck it was.
so I go
Oh,
in
God.
and like, okay, first red flag should have known was the audience. Those people were creepy as shit. Like, there were a lot of people that like I was like, man, some of these people look like they're on those posters like warning or the FBI database. Like, but I'm
Oh
like,
my
okay.
God.
And then there was a title, and it was called Wolverine. I'm like, all right, that doesn't sound like anything suspect,
Look this up.
Wolverine.
No, your first clue should have been that they were handing out tissues at the door.
Well, funny story about that. There was someone with a box of tissues. I still didn't get the fucking hit. So,
Oh my God.
so we're sitting there, and it's like this tiny room, and it's like really claustrophobic. Of like, what the fuck is going on right now? And they put it on like the big screen. There's a projector there and stuff, and it's going. It's pretty cool. These people are like transforming into wolves and battling other people, and then all of a sudden, there's like a shit ton of like just like crazy random sex scenes and about no story or nothing. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then there's wolves banging wolves, dudes banging wolves. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, I'm looking at this right now. It doesn't look like it's got any like type of hentai, like normal hentai shit in it. It definitely looks like what are those? I forget what exactly what it's called. It's kind of there's another term for it.
When did the tentacles show up?
Oh, no, thank goodness, no tentacles. I mean, I've seen a movie called Wicked City, which was pretty crazy,
fucking gnarly.
Yeah, but this was like, you can't tell, but some crazy shit goes down. I was like, what? And it was like a midnight panel, and I should have known. Like, perp. I'm telling you, you'll never be the same. Don't do it, man. Don't. I tell these.
I've seen way crazy. I've seen a Serbian film, so I've seen pretty much everything there is that's crazy.
All right, that's fair enough.
I have a request. I have a request for the chat. Could please, someone, please clip that shit of Zod's hentai experience, and then
I'll do that.
upload it. I want to watch that like on loop for a little bit. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
These are the moments where I just say to myself,
with a new medium.
These are the moments where I wonder how exactly I get into these situations. But yeah, so if you're in a small confined room with some shady people, don't watch whatever they put on, because more than likely you'll be scarred for the rest of your life.
If you go no correction. If you go into a room with a bunch of shady people, you fucking run.
Exit stage left.
Yeah. Stone Cold Jeremy says in the chat.
Donuts are.
Stone Cold Jeremy in chat says, no, Zod, the first red flag was when your friend said, well, you'll see.
No shit, right? Like, nah, man, you gotta give me at least some inclination of what is going to be plastered to my fucking brain before I walk in here.
Well, PB, I would say like equivalent to this. I would be like, yo, like Sausage Party is technically what happens at the end of it. That's some like hentai food shit.
Oh
I
man,
mean, technically, yes. Technically.
I could tell you of all the endings I thought he was gonna go with. I did not in my wildest dreams ever think in my fucking lifetime I would see a food orgy. But thank you,
Kids was
Seth
watching that.
Rogen.
That's just crazy. So crazy. Don't
I
ever,
remember
don't ever.
parents walking out of that movie when the food started cursing, and then they were talking about like they wanted to get hot dogs in the buns, and this mother was like, she put like the earmuffs on the kid
I mean,
and was like,
I
"Son
still
of a
have I
bitch!"
still haven't seen that movie all the way through, but I remember the thing where people are like, "Oh, why are kids watching this? Oh, it's not good." I'm like, "Did you look at the fucking rating? They even checked your
no, just look.
ID, didn't they?"
Look at the fucking title of the fucking movie, Sausage Party. What
Big
in that
party.
name
Like,
says kids?
Look who
no
created
shit.
it. We got James Franco's name on that shit, man.
Bro, I'm like, it's Sausage Party. I was like, you don't have to be a fucking rocket scientist to figure out what that fucking means. But, like, Jesus. Like, they're like, oh, it must be for kids.
Like, the
Sausage
only
Party.
way it would have
It's
been appropriate
animated.
for kids is if it was still called Sausage Party and the only person on the cover was Emerald.
And they also, every time that you see it in theaters, they always show the Red Band trailer. They always showed you, hey, here, like, they say you could tell if it's a normal trailer, like, they gave you the green shit, whatever, but they gave you a Red
Right.
Band trailer. That is key indication that this is not for fucking children.
Yeah, a lot of
but
angry parents that
you're forgetting the fact that humans, to paraphrase Terrence, are stupid.
Very much so.
Speaking of something stupid, let me talk about stupid, crazy, good business deals. So,
Ooh.
I've been highlighting this because this person, through the corona epidemic, thank goodness, has been making a splash in the comic and movie and now toy industry, Mr. Todd McFarlane. So, did Todd McFarlane just prove that the big box retailer is obsolete when it comes to action figures? This man is a marketing genius, and it's why he's still one of the people having such a big impact on the comic industry now, when supposedly a lot of big players are dying off. So, did Todd McFarlane just prove that big box retailers are now obsolete when it comes to the world of action figures? Todd McFarlane is largely attributed as the person who created the action figure collecting demographic in this country in the early 90s. Facts. When he launched his little toy company known as McFarlane Toys, a toy company that gained notoriety not by making cheap toys for young kids, but by delivering highly detailed pieces of art in the form of action figures, something that would attract consumers both young and old. He proved that there was profit to be had for toys other than just catering to the now shrinking demographic of young kids and to the parents who buy them. Even the larger toy companies like Hasbro and Mattel eventually started to follow the lead to make stuff that was geared more towards the adult action figure collector. Back then, there were a lot more options for these toy companies to sell their products. No longer was the selling of action figures just confined to places like Toys R Us and other specific toy shops. Now you could find toys at various music and video rental stores, even in comic and specialty shops, which were a growing and thriving business in the early 90s. Miss those days. Since those early days, the retail landscape has changed drastically. Most music and video stores are now all but extinct, as are most toy-specific stores. Even video game stores seem to be on their last legs these days. Comic shops also have taken huge hits over the years, calling into question their chances for long-term survival. Beyond a few smaller e-trailers, e-traders, that really only leaves the big box retailers like Walmart, Target, and a few others to sell these things. Meaning they dictate what gets made, how it gets made, and gets what doesn't get made at all. These big box retailers and the demands they appeared to be placing on the toy manufacturers contribute to the biggest complaints for most collectors have when it's coming to collecting action figures. Cheap quality to keep the price down, the same big name characters rehashed over and over, hard to find store exclusives, and a limited availability of the things people actually want. To me, it comes down to this because the manufacturers have so few options where they can sell products these days, they have no choice but to abide by the demands of the big box retailers place on them. Perhaps that's about to change, though, and the path that to that change may be led by the same man who helped create the action figure collecting market all those years ago. Yesterday, Todd McFarlane launched his very first crowdsourcing Kickstarter campaign for a newly designed Spawn figure, a figure that pays tribute to the very first Spawn figure he did in the 90s. The Kickstarter has a funding goal of 100,000 over the course of 30 days in just under 12 minutes. The Kickstarter going live yesterday. The figure surpassed its 100,000 goal as I type this. The Kickstarter, which has been live for less than 24 hours, has obtained 716,034 in its funding. Now McFarlane isn't the first person to look at something like a Kickstarter to sell an action figure. He isn't the first major toy company to do it. In recent years, Hasbro launched their crowdfunding website and sold several large and expensive type items straight to the consumer through it. Mattel tried their own variation of this concept for the Masters of the Universe, though their Matty Collector website, which lasted a number of years. Had Mattel put more emphasis on the customer service end of that operation, it probably would have been even more successful than it was. Still, when it comes to the world of action figures, I don't think I've seen anyone have quite as much success of crowdsourcing campaign as McFarlane seems to be having with his first. It really makes me wonder what this could mean for the future of action figures targeted towards adult collectors. McFarlane himself has already touted if this first campaign was successful, it would allow him to get more of what collectors want into their hands by circumventing the big box stores. Of course, until the final product is actually delivered into the hands of the consumers, it's hard to say how successful it will really be, but it definitely gives some hope for the future of this hobby. So, what does everyone think about someone circumventing the man, these big retailers, and just doing their own thing?
Say that
I ain't got no.
again.
I was saying, what do you guys think about someone who has like these stores like Walmart, Target, and I know I used to work for Walmart back in the day. They put these outlandish restrictions on any of the people that they're purchasing merchandise from. They make all of these guidelines, and it's really keep costs down. And Todd McFarlane basically just gave him a finger by doing this crowdfunding thing and raised more money than anyone who's A, attempted it, and B, whatever they've sold this year. This one action figure has outsold most of the toys that Target and Walmart are carrying.
I mean, I don't, like I said, like I've said this before, I don't see kids really playing with toys other than like Legos anymore. Like, so that's kind of like a dying breed, but I can understand, like, it I don't see any Todd McFarlane toys, whatever, being put in like a Walmart or Target, I usually see those at like a Hot Topic or sometimes like an FYE, like those types of uh or sometimes like even local like record stores that they sell like some comics there here and there. But you know, that's good for him though. Like he found a different way to
I
go around
mean, it would be interesting if, we would be able to look at his numbers and see what the average age is of the buyers, because I would bet that it's almost exclusively adults that are purchasing this and not for their children or for their nieces and nephews to give away as gifts or whatever. They're buying it for themselves, not even to play with, maybe, but to put on the shelf because it's a collectible. So if we're talking about action figures in the collectible market, it seems like a way better business practice as an individual. If you're a known person, like people know who he is, so it's easy enough that way. It's not just a random guy like the four of us are. If one of us tried to sell an action figure online, it's probably not going to do too well unless we were able to get somebody with a name to co-sign it and to do a little marketing campaign with it. But if you're a known person, people know who you are. All you got to do is put it up on all your social media, link it to your freaking GoFundMe or Kickstarter or whatever you're using, your Indiegogo, whichever website you want to use to bring in the funds, and have no problem. And then you don't have to worry about all of this overhead and trying to sell to this store and that store, this company, that company. You're selling directly to the person that wants to buy it.
it's essentially kind of like how people be putting out music nowadays. You don't necessarily need a label to like push your thing. Like if you have a huge following on social media, like you just use that and you just build it off that. You don't necessarily need the machine.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That's an excellent comparison, because you see a lot of these rappers we've never heard of, and then all of a sudden they blow up off of social media hype.
Above.
Yeah.
When y'all fucking and she keeps moaning too loud and being dramatic. Don't lie to me, bitch. My dick ain't that big and he's looking in from outside. That doesn't make any sense and it's creepy as fuck. Are you showing me a picture like that, woman? Doesn't make any sense.
Trey Courtney says collectors buy toys now, or I don't know what that other one is. Yeah, so it's a very niche type of a group, and I think it is a smarter business market to cater to people who are actually going to buy your merchandise, as opposed to kids who are younger and they're going to have the toy for maybe a month before they want to get the new latest and greatest thing. So
right.
It could be a very good business model. And, a lot of the toy stores have all but gone extinct. There's none that just seem to be specializing in that.
You could just set up a storefront on Facebook and stuff and sell your stuff on there, like right there. Like, and he has a big enough following where, like you said, like he sold more toys than most retailers and stuff. So it's like you should have been kind of did this.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting to see these last couple of months, and especially in the coronavirus apocalypse we seem to be having. Todd McFarlane must have been just sitting there with business ideas going, all right, I'm just going to throw this shit out here now. Because, man, he's been making a big push, not only comic-wise, but movie and toys and everything else. So I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out and current on this stuff. But I'm going to get to a topic that
You're
actually
keeping your eye on a toys market.
Whoa! You gotta rephrase that. I ain't turning you on to nothing.
No. Okay, let me rephrase my words. I'm going to say this next article, the next subject is something that Perp had turned me on to with
Oh
QB.
my God, you
And I
said the
didn't.
same thing.
Again, sir.
You know what? You know what? We're just gonna go to the next article.
No, you can. No, you. What you're supposed to say is,
Okay.
I'm going to turn my eyes to this next article that Perp brought to my attention.
That's
No,
way
he
better.
but he didn't. I actually started looking into this, and apparently I did not know they were going to get talent like this. But there is, I guess, a movie, a short format movie or something called The Most Dangerous Game, which stars Christopher Waltz, who explains
They're gonna have they're having a movie off the book.
I don't know anything about this. I just heard Christopher Waltz, and I was immediately interested because he's an amazing actor. And
True.
he explains the benefits of the QB format. So, I'll tell you, it is easy keeping a phone conversation with Christopher Waltz to the allotted time, especially when you're discussing a new storytelling format like movies in chapters on QB. Waltz leads one of the first QB original feature films in Most Dangerous Game. He plays Miles Sellers, the head of a company called the Trio Fund. Miles offers to help Liam Hemsworth's character, Dodge, out of a very tough spot, but not by giving Dodge the loan he requests. Instead, Miles suggests Dodge could make money to support his family by allowing himself to be hunted for sport. With QB, the Most Dangerous Game, making their big budget debut on April 6th, Waltz took some time to hop on the phone to discuss his first impressions of QB and the pros of storytelling format that he discovered while making the film. On top of that, he also spoke about groundswell support for Alita Battle Angel sequel. Yes, which I would really like to hear about. He offered up a very brief tease on the next Bond film, No Time to Die, and revealed he's busy watching while we're all participating in social distancing. Thank you, Christopher. I'm glad you're watching. That's kind of creepy. Check it out in the full chat below. And this is just kind of a back and forth that they have. So I don't know if I want to say the person's name every time.
Better to be watched by Christopher Waltz than be watched by Christopher Robin.
Fair enough. Yeah, in the new movie Christopher Robin, was it like 40 something? He was still hanging out with Pooh. I was like,
He was old enough to be a master Jedi.
Christopher Waltz. I'm just gonna say CW when he talks. CW says, "Well, they explained to me at first, which means it's short of triggered immediate skepticism. Because first of all, I'm skeptical anyways. But when I heard a new streaming platform that does up to 10-minute chunks, and that's it, I thought, come on, really? Is that all you can entrust an audience with anymore? The attention span has dwindled down to that. Those are the skeptical snob's comments, of course. And I am a skeptical snob. So I said, look, we do this no matter what it is. Let's look at the script because all the other discussions are more or less academic. And this is about what it actually is. And so they sent me the script and I couldn't stop reading. I mostly started to understand it. It was as I was reading through the 16 episodes, I kind of start to see, which in the end was more than firmly established in my mind, that this is not a fuck is that? Diminishing?
Diminishing?
No, DIMIN.
Diminutive.
Yes. or a scaling down, a reduction of proper format. This is a unique and a thing in its own right. It is a new form of television. It can turn into a new form of dramatic narrative. Serials, yes, we've had that as far as serial television shows. A whole season, 45-minute episodes, we've had that. This is not serialized television in smaller chunks. This is a new form of television, and I am fondly excited. I saw the script. The script was constructed that way dramatically, and that immediately kindled my enthusiasm. The next question is, I'm not sure how many chapters you've watched so far, but if you've watched it, did you find any particular benefits to this format in delivering story that you didn't expect? He replies, yes, definitely. You give it, I don't know, 8 minutes, dramatically speaking, not from the audience point of view. Dramatically speaking, you got it 8 minutes before you turn it around. So you'll have a different classical 3-act structure where you develop that. This is nice. I'm not criticizing that at all. On contrary, I am great advocate for classic dramatic structure and storytelling. This is a new way of telling a story because you turn it into the last 8 minutes or so. And that's fascinating to me. The way it was written when I read it, because everybody knows what a cliffhanger is. You have only 16 or 20 times in the whole story, and that's something that's a new form of storytelling. That makes it much more exciting, and that justifies the way the length is divided into individual portions. I avoid on purpose the word episodes because they're not. I mean, at least in our case, it's one movie. You could do this one as a thematical movie, only the theater, you would have a completely different situation where probably a cliffhanger every 7 or 8 minutes would drive you nuts. Not the case here. They ask if there's different from a production standpoint. He said, no, not at all. You wouldn't shoot individual chapters anyways. It was like one big movie being shot, and it was being shot like a big movie, and with all the effort and all of the input and all of the expertise and only first-class professionals at it. It was great. I wish a lot of other movies did this the same way. Let me see. Wow, this is long. I don't know if I want to go through all this.
You don't gotta read.
Like, damn, man.
Oh,
We pretty much get the gist of it, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he's really excited about this. Let me just go to the no time to die question because I'm interested in that one. And now for the upcoming project, because I just can't help myself. Can you tell me any specifics about the choice to return in No Time to Die? It is very enticing to bring back familiar characters, but you always want your character to come back with a purpose. So are you able to tease anything about the role that made you say, yeah, it's necessary for me to return to this character? You'll see when you see it. He laughs. Oh, you son of a bitch.
So I guess hentai in there.
He says I'm very disappointed, but I have to dodge these questions. But we'll see. It was great to talk about it again. And of course, let me see what he says about Alita. He says that Fox is interested in doing an Alita sequel, but they don't want to Disney-fy it. So there's a bit of a... Yeah, that's what he said in the thing. I was like, go, Christopher Waltz. He's like, they want to do what they did before. So what's his face? James Cameron and Disney are going back and forth because James Cameron wants to do it like he did the first one, and Disney wants to scale down some of the stuff that was in the first one. I was like, it was fucking PG-13. You can't scale it down anymore. What are you going for, G?
my gosh.
You can go for PG.
Fucking
It's
Disney.
gonna be a live-action Pixar movie.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like... So, the mouse rapes another company in the ass. Anyways, So, Perp, you know, you got a cosign from a huge actor here. He's saying this might be the
Yeah, man,
future
and
of
even
movies.
I showed PB a video, was it like last week or something like that, or it was this week
Yep.
actually, I think, about QB, like how interactive the actual app is. Like, say for instance, you're watching something in landscape, and it's just like a regular thing, and like you see a chick on the phone, and you turn it to portrait, just how you would hold a normal phone, and then it shows you everything that she's looking at on her phone from her perspective. So you get like a a POV of her and whatnot, and it's little shit like that that's makes it really interesting. Like, what could they possibly do for this show? Because what will happen if like you're running through, like, say Liam Hemsworth is running through whatever, he's being chased by whatever, or what I'm saying, while explosions are going in the background. I'm just speaking hypothetical. You switch it to portrait mode and you get a whole different experience right there. And that's what I think is needed with a lot of these shows to keep people's attentions, like similar to how Netflix had that Black Mirror movie that was interactive, by like you
Yeah,
could
that was pretty cool.
like you could choose uh how you wanted the movie to end, or to find the true ending to the film. It adds to the replay value, and I think that's the direction that they're going to go with QB. And just it's definitely interesting. I could see a lot of people getting behind this. We're just got to see how it plays out. Like, what other shows are they going to have? They already have a shit ton of shows on there, so it's like,
They got all kinds of original content already.
yeah, and it's so I just hope that more people kind of, because I see advertisements for everywhere, on like TikTok,
Yep.
Instagram, everywhere. It's everywhere. They know what they're doing, and it's well calculated. It was perfectly calculated for just this time, unfortunately, but it's still, I think they can get a footing in with this at least. I think this is going to be good for people, especially it being just strictly on mobile too. Like, you think about how many people have mobile phones. It's millions upon millions of people, so it's like they automatically get an install base right off the bat for just that.
I mean, that's not counting tablets either.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you guys, but all of a sudden I got freaking nauseated and lightheaded. I think I'm gonna have to leave the stream early.
It's all good, Husky.
All right, Husky,
man.
and Husky, before you go ahead and just put your channel link in there. Make sure people go check out Husky's Twitch streams he's got going down. He's got some awesome video game stuff. You were doing some Lego stuff when I checked it out earlier.
That's what I was doing today. That
Yeah,
was a
so-
little fan request. I'm
So,
going to be
I mean,
doing
Husky,
Fallen Order.
he's taken all sorts of requests over there. Go ahead and go check out that channel. Go check out his YouTube and show the dog some love. The best political analyst here on the panel.
All right. Bye, everyone.
We'll talk to you later.
So let me I've gotten Perp's feelings on this. PB, do you think that if they can do something different, something unique, they're sounding like they're trying to edge a little corner out of this market? Do you think this will be enough to make them a viable competitor?
I mean, with what Perp was showing me when we were looking at stuff in the green room, I don't remember if it was earlier this week or late last week. That doesn't matter. They have a lot of things going for them, in the sense of they must have spent, I don't know how much money, but they spent plenty of time on getting their interface to work properly, because there was zero lag when you tilt the phone. You know how you get that like double finger snaps worth of time if you're watching YouTube? where you got to wait for it to flip to being into landscape mode. That doesn't happen on QB at all. It's perfectly
Seamless.
freaking smooth, perfectly seamless, exactly. And then if everything is going to be the same as far as runtime, you always know what you're getting yourself into whenever a new show comes out. You're like, oh, well, I can give it, 3 episodes. It's only going to cost me half an hour, and then I can make a decision if I'm going to move forward with it. And then, I don't know, like you're talking about replayability. The replayability, you're going to have to watch everything on this platform twice, not just because you wanted to, but because you're going to think that you might have missed something. Like what we were watching was the example that Perp gave. You see this chick who's like in her like living room, dining room area, and she's going to walk down the hallway, and the camera is like positioned outside the house kind of, so you can see in the windows and you can see this person. And I assume that they have all of the microphones set up that you can hear everything, so that's not the issue there. So you could watch the entire episode 10 minutes in one mode and think that you've seen everything, but technically you've missed half of everything because maybe you couldn't see this one thing over her shoulder that you would only notice if you were in portrait mode. So then you're going to go back and you're going to rewatch what you just watched in the other mode because maybe you're going to catch something. And then the other interactive feature was that you were also seeing what was on her phone. Like it was giving the perspective that she was using her front-facing camera looking at her, so you could see like her torso and her head, but then you could also see the messages that were popping up on her phone. You could not see that happening when you're just watching the show in landscape mode. So there's going to be that whole aspect of I need to like actively participate almost in watching the show instead of just hitting play and letting it roll on your your tablet on the table or whatever you're watching it on, or setting it down and just letting it play in your pocket because you're like, oh, I can hear what's going on. No, you need to see what is going on these shows because you might miss something.
Right. And I think it fits into that world where, it's always been weird that, with IGTV and like TikTok, how they use everything in like that portrait mode format and stuff, and that's what I said. Like I understood for TikTok it made sense, but with like IGTV and stuff like that, it didn't really, like I didn't see it really taking off like that. Like nobody really likes to watch content like that. You shouldn't watch content like that. But like with QB, if you're making something interactive, I think it adds to the viewing experience and stuff. And
Right.
and
Like if you
like you said, you could watch the whole series just in landscape and then go back and watch it all in portrait and stuff. So you have two ways of
and you
watching.
could get an entirely different perspective on what's going on in the show. Like somebody, I don't know what the show was called or if it was just like an example and it's not even in a show or something like that. But
It was.
you could
I think
have
it was. It was.
okay.
It was the Sophie Turner show. I think Survive. Yeah.
Okay. So you're going to have, how many times have we gotten into a discussion about a particular show, episode, or a movie or whatever, and you're like, no, this is what I saw in that scene from my perspective. And the other person's like, well, this is what I saw from my perspective. People are going to have literal different perspectives, not figurative different perspectives. It's going to be phenomenal. Not to mention, you get a 90-day free trial.
Yeah,
I
that's the
think we're
big
going
deal.
to start shilling for Cubia here on the channel.
Right, you try to get that sponsorship.
Yeah. I'll review all their stuff. In that case,
Like, the first time I seen it, I don't know what channel I was watching through my satellite or on a DVR or whatever, but I seen it come on, and they were doing a commercial for whatever this Chrissy Teigen show is, where she's a judge and she's doing real cases, and I was like, this looks dumb as fuck. I'm never gonna watch this fucking show. And then me and Perp started talking about the platform instead of just the show, because as far as I know, she's the biggest celebrity that they have on the platform so far. I don't know how many episodes they already have like made that they can just release, because I assume that they're not able to make any more right now. Like nobody's able to make anything right now other than the WWE. So I was never going to watch that show, so I was like, oh, screw this freaking platform. It's ridiculous. They're just trying to build it off of this one celebrity. And then I saw how it worked, and I changed my tune real fast.
So yeah, folks, we'll keep you updated here. Good night, Timon Flip. Good to have you. I understand about getting them Z's, man. I'm gonna be heading out here soon, anyways, because you know, Clone Wars.
Glad you could
Salute,
interact with us in the chat.
Salute.
Yes. So yeah,
4
this is
a.m. Oh my gosh, he's in Canada.
But yeah, this is something to keep their eye on, and you know, maybe here on the late night talks, we might see who's sampled it. I know Perp's gonna try it day one, so I might give it a go. We'll see if we can get some different takes on the platform and tell you guys what we think from our perspective. But I think I'm gonna start to wind things down. We got through our articles, we laughed, we cried. We learned some horrifying facts about hentai. Let's go with let's go with the first panelist, the Purple Man.
He
the
left
man
already, man.
the man who reviews everything and anything. Mr. Perp Minded, what 15 videos you got coming?
It's Perp, and before I hopped on stream, I did an album mixtape, whatever you want to call it, review of a Canadian. I'm glad that PV brought up Canada. It's your second favorite, well, third favorite, probably Canadian, Tory Lanez. You know, if you haven't checked him out on IG, he's been doing the quarantine radio stuff. It's been really entertaining, and he dropped New Toronto 3, so I have a review on that on my channel. I also have a video talking about the new PlayStation 5 controller. Also, if you watch Devs on FX on Hulu, I think it's exclusively just on Hulu. I don't think it gets aired. I have my episode 7 of that review up. On 420, I'll have my 420 special edition Perp Show stream, so you could definitely go check that out. I'm going to probably do a review of the Midnight Gospel on 420, like for the stream. I was thinking about doing a separate video, but I might just incorporate it in my stream. If you don't know what Midnight Gospel is, it's pretty much the creators of Adventure Time, and they're making this trippy ass movie or series just for 420. So should be interesting. I don't know what else I'm gonna have coming in the next few weeks, but just subscribe and find out. So
Nice,
But
nice.
yeah, I was
Definitely.
gonna say that only covers like 8 of the 15 videos.
yeah.
Yeah, Perp putting in work, and of course the co-commander, mi amigo, the person who keeps shit in order here, Mr. Pop Culture PB. Tell them about the new March Madness MCU video you got coming out, and anything else secret that we don't know about yet.
I mean, I like being called a commander. I like to emulate Jonathan Frakes. He's got a pretty quality beard, even if it's not red. I can get on board with that. For sure. But yeah, I'm PB, and you can go to my channel, Pop Culture PB, and watch the most recent episode of MCU March Madness between Ant-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy. Find out who wins. It's I don't know. It's one of the longer episodes because there was more comments. So if there was less comments, it'll be shorter, like the one that's going to come after that between Iron Man and Thor Ragnarok. Not a lot of comments for that. I'm pretty sure you can guess who's going to win that matchup. And then, yeah, tomorrow there's going to be a short video out for a big announcement. Big announcement. That's all I'm going to say. No spoilers.
Nice. And yeah, as always, you guys have been in the fandom zone with General Zod. I actually have been working on some videos. I'm doing my mobile gaming videos slightly different, different. Sorry, it's late. But I'm releasing another new game I'm playing called Sega Heroes. It's a pretty cool game. They got all the Sega franchises in it. So I did a little playthrough of that, and I shot another character breakdown or a team breakdown for Disney's Battle Arena. So I'm going to be bringing that out. And I have my comics chat on Tuesday and the Clone Wars review for tonight's episode on Sunday with LB and Mr. PB. We will be talking about this latest episode and our thoughts and feelings and, all that good shit. I got a lot of stuff in the works. I'm actually talking to some independent comic groups to try to get some people who are making good books out there through Indiegogo and whatnot, and get them to come on the stream and talk about their book and, give you guys some different comic avenues if you're tired of the big corporate giants making Gotham High and fucking Safe Space. Give you guys some alternatives to those books, and more news and stuff coming out of the world of comics, because I really liked it and I got some good interactions on that stream. So I might do a couple and invite some more special guests. I may have someone with me to talk about Walking Dead this upcoming Tuesday. So I'm not going to tell you who, but you definitely know them. So definitely keep it locked on this channel. We'll be back. Thank you everybody for coming on board. And as always, remember the only rule here in the fandom zone.
Wash your ass.
Never, ever, ever see Henry.
Okay.